Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fire and Forte. And actually, before I introduce you to today's amazing guest, I'm in Australia, back from some travel. So I'm going to do an acknowledgement of country before we start. So I would like to acknowledge the Aboriginal people who are the traditional custodians of the land on which the building that I'm in is built. Those people who called the wetlands of Manly Lagoon their home. We would like to pay respect to elders, both past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal people. May the teaching and learning practices always be respectful of the knowledge born of the Aboriginal custodianship of this land. Now, I would now like to introduce you to Cass Maynard. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm very good. I've had a peaceful morning this morning, so that's good with my son in daycare. Got a few
Oh,
things done.
that must be a joy. And I can see some vapors sort of around you. What have you got around you? That looks warming.
I have incense. Yeah, lots of delicious smells and it's how I like to do anything these days. It's always about like how it smells, looks, tastes. It really just drops me into my body and into the here and now.
Excellent. So it almost helps you get present into the moment and calms you, I suppose. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, hopefully we can dig a lot more into this because I think we're going to get from you a lot of recommendations about how we can get in our bodies, how we can be present as women who tend to be super busy, let's face it. But I wanted to wish you a belated happy 40th birthday. So I hope you had a great 40th birthday. How was it? What did you get up to?
I did. It was pretty much a month celebration, which I said this year, I'm not going to do anything big because I wanted to have like this massive party, themed, all of the things. And I was like, no, you know what? I just want to stay quiet and do something small. And then it ended up being a month-long festival. So it's very typically how I like to celebrate my birthday. I'm very big on birthdays and the celebration and reflecting on all that I've traversed and really setting goals for the year ahead and just having a big fat party to celebrate.
I
So
kind
we had a little family getaway in Byron, which was more of a staycation, but we hired a beautiful house. All my family came, had beautiful dinners, delicious wine and champagne, and went out for a long lunch with friends. Went away for a little girls' trip. There was so much involved in it. Yeah, I think you've really just got to celebrate it though. Embrace it all.
Exactly, and with your favorite people by the sounds of it. I think everyone shows up for your 40th.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they definitely did.
And did it feel like a big birthday for you? How did you feel in the build up to turning 40? Because this really divides people, I think.
Yeah, look, I actually felt really content about turning 40. And I do believe that the best years are yet to come. You know, I've spent so many years in this healing realm and a lot to move through. And I just feel like there's just so much more coming my way that is more aligned with who I am, like who I truly am at the core, not who I should be on the outside. And yeah, I was excited. And that's why I ended up having the big celebration. It's like, no, you know what? This is a big party. This is something to celebrate. So yeah, I felt content. And I sat in a tea ceremony with a friend the morning of my birthday. And it's a beautiful, I don't know whether you've ever heard a tea ceremony, but you're basically served tea and it's a Japanese tradition. I think maybe Chinese as well, but where I practice it in Byron is Japanese. It's in a little room and there's music on and you just sip on tea and then allow what needs to come through to come through. So it was so beautiful and profound. And I walked out and I was like, okay, so this year is all about really grounding my roots, but also connecting to, you know, higher purpose and higher self. And yeah, it just felt really like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm ready for this year. Let's do this.
It sounds like a formal ceremony that almost represented to you shedding the past in order to walk into the next phase. Like, it sounds quite a monumental moment, actually.
It was so beautiful, so beautiful. Could not have planned that better.
That's amazing. I'll be 41 next, so I might look at doing a similar thing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about the story that got you to 40, and because I think a lot of people do resonate actually with that idea that actually as you get older, this myth of it being not a good thing is actually the exact opposite, because you think, "Oh, I'm not fighting myself anymore." I think that is quite a familiar story, and if it's not, I really hope that other people are able to say soon what you can say. So I wondered what the story was to get you to this point.
I mean, if I look back on my life, it was very much trying to be something that I'm not. So I was constantly trying to make myself better, look better, very focused on looks and like externally what everyone sees. It's like I wanted to have the perfect skin, the perfect. I'd always be getting Botox and fillers, and my body was pristine and perfect. I trained very hard, but yet my inside was just crumbling and overwhelmed, and there was just so much that I hadn't dealt with. A lot of the external stuff I was just masking what was really internally happening. So during some big transitions that happened in my life, it really forced me to slow down. Like, it really forced me to slow down and look inside, look at my shit, look at what I hadn't dealt with. And when I came to acceptance of who I am, that's when things shifted, and that's only just happened, and that's taken a very long time. So it's not something that happens overnight, like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do this one thing and then woo, take the acceptance pill. Like, it's taken many, many years of really looking at my shit, looking at what's inside, looking at the emotions that I haven't dealt with, looking at the trauma I haven't dealt with. And yeah, realizing, like, where is this conditioning or these beliefs come from, and shifting that to a place of I'm amazing. And it doesn't matter what I look like on the outside, it really matters the inside, and standing in my truth and my power and just sharing exactly who I am. So yeah. Long
Congratulations, because it's a painful process though, isn't it, to do that? Was acceptance your end goal? Did you know that that's what you needed to achieve?
No, I didn't know that. I mean, I don't even think I had an end goal. I just wanted to feel better.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get through the darkness and feel happier on the other side. That's what I'm constantly working towards, is just this happiness, just to be able to show up as who I am on the inside and share that.
So that almost came as an outcome of doing the work, did it? I mean, but what a pleasant surprise, is it? That you think, okay, I've moved this, let's call it a black cloud for want of a better
Yeah.
metaphor, but you've removed some darkness, or you're feeling better. And then there's literally the light of feeling acceptance, and maybe not even realizing that that was a feeling that you feel. I mean, people do talk about looking at children and that point where they don't care what anyone thinks about them, and then that moment when they start to become conditioned, it's almost as though you go back to that level of acceptance.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's definitely been a process,
Yeah.
but well worth it in the end.
Well, it's interesting as well, because we were talking obviously before hitting record and saying that I originally met you at a Buff Girls, I think it was called, fit
Yeah.
club. So I was trying to fit in with Bondi. Okay. So I'd moved to Australia and moved to Bondi and realized that I didn't look like the way that you need to look if you live in Bondi. So joined this fitness club, which was really friendly and welcoming. And you and another girl were running it, and you were so smiley. I thought, again, this was a personality that needed to be adopted if we were to live in Bondi, because it was very, I mean, obviously you were working and you wanted to probably motivate us,
Yeah.
but you were incredibly bubbly, smiley, energetic. And like you say, body being pristine, I remember both of you, it's being really, really toned. So is that a period of your life where you were trying to maybe fit in yourself with that Bondi look, or? had that always been who you'd been up until that point?
No, there was a lot of pressure in Bondi to look a certain way. Yeah, especially in the fitness industry. Like I was constantly like every event I'd go to, anytime we had a photo shoot or anything where I was in front of the camera, I did some TV work as well. Like I was so judgmental of myself. Like I had the worst case of body dysmorphia. I was a size 8, extra small, and I thought I was fat. I thought I was huge. And looking back at the photos now, I'm like, oh my goodness, you poor girl.
Yeah.
But there was this pressure, everyone was tiny and toned and tanned, and yeah, it was trying to fit in and belong and yeah, and be accepted again, and also going to these events, and there'd be lots of people at that time. Blue ticks were harder to come by, but like it was that Instagram fame, and like that was what everyone was kind of reaching for. And I know I admit I definitely was like I wanted to be big. I wanted to have loads of followers, and that's what I was chasing. So it it was a very testing time for sure.
It's so interesting because it's sort of awful to hear the realities of that. And yet also the part where so many people think that they want to be like the influencer that they're seeing. And then when the influencer says it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be, I wasn't happy, I'm much happier now. It's really reassuring to dispel the myth that being that fit and being that, because you had a really big profile, didn't you?
Mm,
So
yeah.
everyone would have been looking at you as you were a celebrity in the area for sure. And then to maybe think that actually wasn't delivering you the happiness that it perhaps you'd hoped it would do.
Yeah, it was just this constant wanting more, which is
Right.
something that I'm still trying to break in my system, is that you get somewhere and then you want more. It's like it's being in that moment of, oh, right now this is amazing. No, but it's the society we live in, isn't it? It's like, okay, I got these shoes, but now I want those shoes because they're an upgrade. And it's just that constant, that next best thing that you can
It's
move towards.
true. And also success, I suppose. There's this real double-edged sword of I remember you then and I know now as well, but then I could really sense, probably the industry drove it as well, a sense of drive
Mm.
and a hard work ethic. And then that's almost again a society view of like, keep sweating. Come on, girl, you've got this. Is that something that is different in your life now and then? The work, the hours that you put in?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The work hard, play hard, train hard. Like I was doing everything hard. It was like go hard or don't go at all. Yeah, it was ridiculous. My hormones, my energy levels, like everything was just getting absolutely taxed by how much I would just kept going and going and going and going, which is also what I've had to break. And I've done a lot of work to slow down and just come back to that the slowness of life and really listening to my body and tuning into what I really want to be doing rather than just pushing against what my intuition is saying yes or no or yeah. It's that real listening piece which I never had any understanding of. I just kept following everyone else like, well, come on, let's go. Yeah, but it started to break down when I got it was actually my mum fell sick with cancer. So that would have been coming up to 4 years ago, actually just over 4 years ago. And that really shifted things for me. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Health is my number one priority, but am I really healthy? Like what? And it just made me look at everything. At that time, I also had implants in and I decided to get them removed, which my mum was so happy about.
Oh,
And so that was kind of the start where I slowed down. It was just like, oh, wait, okay, I've got these implants in. I don't know what they're doing to my body. And then I went down the rabbit hole of investigating it all. And then that just opened up a lot that I think I knew, but I just pretended I didn't.
mm.
And yeah, it was kind of on the forefront of one of the first to get the implants removed. So I shared my story, and then I had still have to this day, lots of girls connecting with me and messaging me and connecting with the Instagram page I started. And yeah, it just really allowed me time and space to slow down because I couldn't train when I had them removed.
Okay, yeah.
And so I started just going for walks and doing Pilates and yoga. And then I decided to get my yoga training certificate. Yeah. So it's just started to shift. I was like, wow, this kind of feels good. I don't have to go hard every day. And yeah, it just made me look at my cycle and where when I'm on my bleed, I don't really like training. So, well, not the way that I was. I'd rather go for a walk in the sun. And so I started following lots of women that were living in line with their cycle.
Mm.
And yeah, it just is like, whoa, why were we not taught this in school? I had no connection to my cycle. My getting my bleed was not celebrated. It was shamed. Yeah, it's like this is what it is to be a woman. Like we are so lucky to have a cycle because one, we can create life, but two, like just having that time to slow down, rest, rejuvenate, and then come out the other end, let go of the shit that's not serving us. We're constantly moving with the cycle of the beautiful moon as well. So when I started to look at that as well, I was like, whoa, okay. I missed out on a lot here.
And such a big shift from fast-paced living,
Mm,
probably getting up at a crazy time in the morning to do a workout that was maybe to heavy music with heavy weights. And then this, I don't know, was there something, there's so much to uncover there and unpack, but was there a mental change in working out the way that you used to versus then when you started walking and
mm.
doing the Pilates?
Yeah, it was a big shift. The shift was it's like, oh, I'm not going to put on weight if I don't do the hard training. It's actually benefiting my body. And my body felt better from working with my cycle in that way than with the overtraining because I was kind of bloated and inflamed. Like my whole body would get really inflamed from the hard training every single day.
Mm.
And the 2 coffees in the morning before I even left, all of this stuff was like, "Whoa, then there we go. There's more, inflammation, and then just keep going, and then I'd just crash, and I'd get really sick, and then I couldn't get well. It just yeah, totally screwed my body for such a long time. So it was that shift. It's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna be kicked out of this world if I stop training hard, and I'm not gonna be huge and I'm not gonna be not fit or not healthy." Yeah, so that was kind of the shifts that happened.
What an amazing journey. I'm sorry to hear about that shock of your finding out about your mum's diagnosis as well, because that's a shock to your body and mind. And then that took you on the health journey. And was that the first thing that you decided to do? Maybe because I'm thinking the implants changed your focus on looks by the sound of it, because it's a big change. I'm imagining that people could tell the difference, could they?
Yeah, I had huge boobs. They were an E cup, and then I went down to a B. Yeah, it was a big difference for sure, but I had absolutely no regrets, and I loved my new boobs, like my new old boobs. Implants just seemed to I got to that stage, I was like, "These are just not my vibe anymore. They are so huge. It's all you can see. I can't actually even dress without like, I needed to hide them in what I was wearing, and they just became uncomfortable." I mean, they served me for many years, and I'm definitely not shaming anyone that has boobs, implants, if they're serving you, stick with it. Like, it doesn't mean you have to go take them out tomorrow, but that's just my journey and how it happened. I had them for 11 years and yeah, it was a big difference, but for me, it was a really positive change. It felt really empowering to be like, "Oh my gosh, my heart, it's here. I can
Oh, wow.
feel
Well,
this opening of my heart space," which having the implants was very much like, oh, their height. It was like I was hiding my heart in a way. I was very guarded. But then when they were out, I just felt so much more liberated and free.
and fully naturally you, which, like we say, it doesn't matter whether you do or not, but it is that sense of just being yourself again. It's quite symbolic in many ways. I would love to hear about the journey around the cycle because that is really not well known. So how would you describe what we need to be doing in line with our cycle?
So, I mean, when we're on our bleed, that is a really beautiful opportunity to release. So, we are the most intuitive at that time as well. So, it's a great time to rest and to go within and really reflect on the month that's been and see if there's anything that's not in alignment of where you want to be going. And yeah, just allowing yourself to let that go. It's like literally feeling the blood releasing from your system. And yeah, so rest, rejuvenation, it's time to really go within, take time for yourself, lots of self-care, lots of warming foods, and just imagining yourself, or oh, you can do this if it is winter, but like snuggling up under a blanket on the couch, like that is just my dream bleed. Just snuggled up, even out in nature, just connecting with the earth and just having that real reflection and time to be with yourself. Not a time to be going to parties or presenting a work presentation or anything where you need to be really outward. If you can, just trying to take time for yourself. When you come out of your bleed, we're moving into more of, it's called the follicular phase. So I like to refer to it as like it's the time where it's springtime. So it's a little bit, you're feeling a little bit flirty, like you're coming out of the cave and yeah, that's a time where your energy levels increase. So you can start to do more training. Very good at this time to do strength training.
Mhm.
And then moving into your ovulation phase. So this is your summer. This is the time where you can kind of do everything, but you also need to be listening to your body. So if you're going, then you're going to find when you get to your period, you're going to be completely zonked because you haven't given yourself that balance between, yep, I've got the energy. I'm kind of in that yang phase, or I am in that yang phase. So lots of outward energy, do the presentation at work and do your hard workout, go for a run, socialize, dance on the tables, do all those things, but also, find balance within that. But it is the time to really like allow yourself to shine bright. And then moving into your luteal phase, which is after that. So it starts this is autumn phase. So moving into that slow down again. So yeah, just slowing down the workouts and starting to do a little bit more self-care and just getting ready to go back into your cocoon, the winter cocoon. Yeah, so it's a beautiful cycle when you can follow that. And I mean, it doesn't have to be, okay, I'm here, but just knowing maybe even when you're ovulating and when you're bleeding, that's a good start. And then those in between phases and just tuning into your energy. Like, how am I feeling? Okay, I don't really have the energy today, so I'm not going to push myself. Permission.
I was going to ask you about that because the cycle sounds much more appealing in the way that you describe it if you honor it. And I think you see your cycle as being so obstructive in your life, don't you? And you blame it when you wake up for that workout or presentation that it's there. But maybe there is something in, well, you always know that's coming. So how can you alter life around it rather than berating it so much?
Yeah. And I mean, it's not always possible, of course. I understand if you're in a corporate job and that's just how it is. But if you can, I mean, if you've got your own business or you have that flexibility, it's definitely so beneficial to your energy and to everybody else because they're going to receive the best of you in those phases where you're really out there, rather than when you really just need to be within. And I used to be one who hated my bleed. And I was reading back on like little notes from high school, actually, when I was at Dad's recently. And it was always about Cass is on her rags and she's in a bad mood. And like, it was constant, like I had terrible period pains. In the lead up, I was just the nastiest girl ever, like just terrible periods. But now, oh my gosh, like I can feel my bleed is coming this week, and it's so nice to be like, it's not painful in any way. It's actually so beautiful when it arrives. I'm always like, thank you. And I honor it. And I share my blood with the earth, and I always am letting go and like intentionally like speaking out what I'm letting go of. Yeah, it's just so nice when you have that connection with your womb and your blood. It's very powerful.
I do like the sound of it, but I did pause and think, what does that mean about sharing your blood with the earth?
Well, I don't wear tampons, so I
Okay.
wear period undies. So I will literally pop them in like water, like hot water, and then wash them out, I guess. So it's like bloody water. And then I will share that with the earth as I'm releasing what I'm letting go of.
It's
Kind
a
of little ritual to give back to the earth your blood, and also not just letting go, but it's like, what do you want to call in as well? Like what we have like is so powerful for manifestation as well. So it's not something to forget about each month.
You could plan your month so differently, couldn't you? If you think summer in that cycle is when you plan your big social events, the big lunches, if there's flexibility with those, if there is something that is a really important meeting, if possible, doing it in your summer would be a lot better because you can feel yourself dragging yourself in every social situation, workout situation when it's probably the other phases and more when you're bleeding. So actually a bit of planning sounds like it could make a revolutionary difference to
Yeah.
your life and what you get out of it and resting at the times that you really need to.
Definitely. Yeah, it does. It does for every part of your life. Like it's just, yeah. And but in saying that, if you are on your bleed and you have energy, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Don't
body.
force yourself on the
Everyone needs to stop. It is
suddenly the whole
true.
economy shuts down as all women run to the sofas
Yeah.
first.
I mean, that's pretty powerful, hey?
That probably actually should be how it works.
Yeah, I do
I
think.
I'm interested in the practicalities, I suppose, of slowing down because I think this is quite a common problem that me and my friends certainly talk about, and I've experienced it personally. But the how uncomfortable slowing down can feel, and if I compare Bondi to London, for example, it's city life, isn't it? So even living slowly there would probably be quite different because everyone around you is stomping around with things to go to and things to do. Are there any practical steps that you can share around slowing down? Because then you talked earlier about listening to your energy, and that takes some practice, I'm imagining.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is about having those moments through your day where you can just check in with yourself. Like that's the most simple way. And it could be just closing down your eyes and taking a few deep breaths. It's like, how am I actually feeling? Like checking in with your heart, checking in with your womb, like that simple. And just listening. And the thing is, our hearts and our wombs speak really simply. So if you hear your mind going, "Da, da, 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 da," then you're not listening to your body. Because that's not what it's like when you're tuning into your body and your intuition. It's very simple. It might be just like, slow down. That's it. You know, like it could be so simple. And then just being able to sit there and breathe, just connecting with your breath. I mean, I love music. It's a beautiful way. Like I create beautiful, slow, whimsical playlists, but they just allow me to really drop down a beat, you know, like take a step back, and I'll pop my earphones in and I can just sit with my music. And if I feel like moving my body and just stretching out in any way, breathing, sounding. Yeah, but it's just creating, you've got to create time for it. It's not something you can be told to do. It's something you've got to want to do as well. It's like, do you really want to listen to yourself, or do you want to just keep overriding your system? Yeah. So if you're wanting to take that time, then just creating the space. I mean, I will get up earlier than Asha in the morning so I can take time for myself and have half an hour in my own space to meditate, to sit with a warm cacao, to journal, just to do whatever I need to. But this took me a long time to get to because I know exactly what you're saying, where you're like, nah, life's too busy. I don't have time. I don't have time. Like that is the constant message, right? I don't have time. I'm too busy. Everybody has time. How much time do we spend scrolling on Instagram for one, watching too much Netflix for two? Like there is time. It's just wanting to make it. And I mean, we all know that's just an excuse. And
Well,
I did it for so long.
yeah, and if you put it in as a non-negotiable, because as you were talking about grabbing some quiet time, I thought in every office, I think that I've worked at, I never needed it, but there was a breastfeeding room. And you kind of think if you have time when you have a child to breastfeed, so let's use that analogy, that is time that you have with your child that you need to go and have. So therefore, surely whether that room that you go to, but also that time that a woman can get, if you're in an office, if you're running a school or an entrepreneur at home, how you actually say, I'm going to have that time or create that space. I mean, I'm guessing a lunch break as well. It's forcing yourself to have 20 minutes, 30 minutes, because it sounds as though the benefits just far outweigh the time that it takes to actually the time out of your day.
Yeah, that's it. And I guess there's just so much that can distract us and distort us in our days, isn't there? Like consuming so much information from social media, from people, from the news. Like there's just so much. And it's always like, hey, how can you just come back to yourself, your own energy, and see what's really true for you? Because what's happening out there doesn't mean that that's your truth. And that's been a big journey for me as well. It's like, well, just because that person says that does not mean that it's my truth. But if you don't take that time out for yourself, you're just going to be constantly trying to do things or should do, or, like in that kind of energy rather than coming back to yourself. See, yeah, I feel like it's just that constant trying to be something that you're not, that's not actually pleasing you or pleasuring you in any way.
It sounds very comforting because actually, when you do have that moment, I suppose that there is a calmness, isn't there, from that? And
Yeah.
hopefully some inner strength, really, because you can deal with it. You're not living on this high energy, like
Reactive.
reactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also where I lived for so long. It's like this reaction. It's like, oh, that triggers me. Well, like your nervous system's just so like all over the place. Like there's just no chance that you're going to be feeling in a place to really make the right decisions or even speaking. Yeah, like we were saying, like if you triggered in any way, you're going to say words that you don't actually mean, that are going to create more fire that is probably not needed as well.
Yeah, we've all been there, haven't we? And I also think about triggers that often lead you to, the corner shop to grab an ice cream or,
Oh,
crack open that bottle of wine. And
yeah,
I'm
2
thinking,
bottles.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And then you've numbed it all. Whereas
Mm.
possibly if you'd taken some of that time to decompress almost, you might not be throwing yourself into those things.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Just a point around environment, because in my mind, it was quite a big move, you moving from Bondi to Byron, which is it's beautiful, but far less populated, a much slower pace of life. At what point was that in this transformation? Was it a conscious one?
It was a conscious one. We didn't know where we were gonna end up. It was during the pandemic had just hit, and it was like, "What are we doing? Like, what are we doing with our lives? Do we really wanna be here?" It's so hectic, and things just turned a little bit crazy when life shut down. And yeah, I honestly can't even tell you how we landed here. It just happened. It was like we were just meant to be here. Like we were looking at a place in Byron, and then next minute we got it. The universe had decided this for us. Yeah, but the transition it was great. Like we both, my partner and I both needed to slow down and just have that energy shift from what we'd been living in for such a long time. So it was great. It was the best thing ever. And I can't imagine being back in Sydney. I go back there on trips. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's great, but there's just something, the energy is just too much for me. Like it really does throw me. Like I have to be constantly like coming back to my energy, because I take on so much. So I'm very sensitive. Yeah, so it's great. I mean, it served its time. I loved it. I had the best fun partying and and working there and met some beautiful friends. But it feels really nice to have slowed down, especially at this time. And I lost my mum coming up to 2 years ago now. Yeah, so it was just a really perfect time to come back to myself and spend a lot more time alone and in this kind of reflective and lots of healing that has taken place, and then motherhood and
Well, yes, yeah. I just condolences, huge condolences to the loss of your mum, like incredibly most important people to us. So my condolences to you for that. And then moving into family life and also doing it, because I suppose if it was just you and your partner, was that a bit of a move, just you two, or did you know other people who were living up there?
it was a big move. We people have moved here, had moved here after us, so now we've got more of a community. Like, but it was big. It was kind of a big shock to have all of our friends in Sydney and then coming to no one. And we're still in the process of finding community that's, yeah, kind of everyone's spread out in this area as well. So it's been harder to not just in Bondi, you just walk down the road and there's your friend or your friends next door or yeah, but I think it's been really good for us to just focus on what we've needed to focus on rather than distracting ourselves with too much fun stuff. So,
Sounds bliss. It sounds bliss, to be honest. Now, motherhood, how's it been? How old is your little one?
he's almost 2.
Thank you.
20 months. Not yet, months. I'm still in the months phase. Yes, he's so beautiful. So he was born a couple of months after my mum passed. So I was 30 weeks pregnant when she passed. And then he was born 2 days after her birthday. I went into labor on her birthday. So it was all a very big time, that's for sure.
What a thing to go through. I take it you're a very supportive partner. And do you have siblings? Did you have people around you?
Yes, but we're in lockdown, so we
Oh,
didn't
God.
have
Yeah.
anyone during the beginning for a few months. I think my sister came to visit when he was 7 weeks old, so we were just in it together for that amount of time. So there was a lot, we've moved through in the last few years. It was just a really big time, and we're only just coming out the other side. Being like, "Wow, I just didn't think it would take so long to come out the other side." But I'm glad that
Yeah,
we've
exactly. Yeah, I'm imagining that with your son, you have to get up every day and keep on going, no matter what you're going through. So was that well, I suppose also a newborn is hard work. I mean, how was he as a baby?
yeah, he was really hard work. He's only just started sleeping through, so it's been a big journey. I'm not gonna lie, like, it's been the toughest years of my life. It's really thrown me in the deep end of looking at myself and looking at my life and looking at what makes me happy and what brings me joy and what lights me up and what's important to me. But that's what it's all for, right? Like you've got to find the gifts and the silver lining in the shit times because they do deliver it. Even though when you're in it, you're like, no, what the hell is happening? There were lots of moments I'm like, why me? Falling into victim, but then having to pull myself out. It's like, no, this is happening for me, not to me. It's happening for my greater good. And if none of that had happened, like I just would not have done this deep healing that I've done, and I wouldn't be here where I am now.
Did you take professional help as well? Because you're so wise when you talk about this. And I'm thinking, how do we get a bit of that?
Yeah, I've done lots of work. I work with a modality called kinesiology. So I've got a couple of practitioners I work with that. And that's really getting into like the emotions that are stuck in your body and clearing them. So it's a very profound work, and it's helped me beyond words. And I've done lots of healing. Yeah, I have a lot of practitioners that I call on to work with. It's not something that, I could do solely on my own. But now I have my own practices and ways that I can kind of come back to myself and clear myself and heal. I do Reiki healing. I do a lot of self-healing, which I actually started my Reiki healing for my mother when she got sick. It was for that purpose, to just really help her, which it did. And I used to offer Reiki healing to all my family, and I do it like every week, distant like healing. And now it's very much like I do a lot of self-healing. I do healing on my son, and now I'm offering it more externally to the outside world, which feels really nice. Yeah.
You can share the gift, can't you? I'm imagining it's lighter, a lifting, because what does the working with the kinesiologist, what does that involve? Is it speaking or is it treatment or both?
It's both, yeah. So that basically they're testing your body for certain emotions or triggers or things that are stuck, and so you'll be talking that through with them, and then they'll clear that for you, and you'll basically create a new story by, like, how do you want to step forward? It's not so, there's lots of, it's not just this lifetime either, it's past lifetimes. Like, it's very, very profound. I really recommend, if anyone's going to try anything, kinesiology is amazing.
I was going to say, I'm going to get straight onto Google after this and find out
Yeah.
more about it and who's local, because it's such a release to know that when you're having in one of those moments, that are these options, and also that there's so many different things that work for different people.
Yeah.
Traditional therapy or counseling might work for one person, but actually for someone else, it needs to be something more in tune with a spiritual level. And I think it's really important people try different things.
It is, and it's whatever resonates. It's like, if something resonates with you, follow that. That's your intuition saying yes. And I think that's the thing. People get very caught up in like, what's my intuition? I'm not intuitive. I don't know how to tune into my body. And it's like, if you just listen to that first thing that drops in, it's like you see something and it excites you, or you're like, oh, that sounds interesting. That intrigue is most likely your intuition. But then the mind comes in, it's like, oh no, I can't afford that. Oh no, that practitioner, blah, 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 the stories enter, and then you're like, oh, it's gone. So you haven't followed it and you haven't listened. So if something does interest you or excite you, then definitely follow it.
Brilliant, because also your friends might have not done it. And I often think word of mouth can be so compelling. And you think, well, they say it's good, but
Mm.
actually they said it was good for them. Doesn't mean
Yes.
that what worked for them might work for you. So actually you might over research things that when your intuition is saying something else might work. That's great advice. Thank you. I was going to ask you probably more as we come to the close, because I'm always interested in people's work-life balance, and you're an entrepreneur, you work for yourself, is that correct?
Yes.
That, I suppose, balancing family life and working for yourself, what's it like day to day, and what advice can you give to other wannabe entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, it's very slow for me these days. Like, I haven't really got fully back into the workspace. My son's going to daycare 2 days a week. But apart from that, I'm a full-time mum because my partner travels as well. So I fit work in where I can, and I'm really conscious of what I'm doing these days. So it's only like, it's really what makes me excited and lights me up. Like, if something's like, yeah, I could put that offer out. Like, I'm very slow, as well as like, I'm in this creation mode. Like, I've got a lot of creations that are happening behind the scenes, but I'm just not ready to offer them yet because I don't feel like I have the space, the time, and the energy to really give my all just yet. It'll come. Yeah, so I really recommend that it's following what really excites you and like focusing on that but also it's got to be in balance with looking after yourself, because if you're not giving the energy to yourself, especially if you're a mama,
Mm.
then you're going to be in that burnout, overgiving, that unhealthy masculine of just overgiving, overgiving, overgiving until eventually you'll burn out and you'll be over that and you'll be like, I hate this. I'm not enjoying it. And then there's the fun and the passion and the pleasure is completely gone. So yeah, I think it's that it's finding that balance for you, the self-care, nurturing self, enjoying time, being a mama. That's one thing that I'm trying to learn as well. It's like, be in this moment because it's not going to be here forever. He's going to grow up and he's not going to want to cuddle you in bed for these things. And then, yeah, really what excites you and lights you up, follow that.
Absolutely spot on advice,
Mm.
because we can rush through life thinking that we've got to be the best mum, work full time somehow, or lots of time, perfect partner. And at the end of it, think, well, hang on a minute, I don't actually remember what we did. Or at the weekend, I'm so tired, we can't really enjoy this time. So you're being super present for yourself, for your son. And then obviously you've got to be realistic. If your partner travels, you've just got to look after yourself, aren't you? Because it's all on you then, the parenthood and balancing things at home, isn't it? So I
Yeah.
suppose it's being realistic on yourself is the most important thing.
Yes, which is tough because I really want to be earning my own money, like good money. Like money is very important to me in my astrology chart. It's very prominent that making my own money and being independent in that way is something that does excite me and is very in line with who I am, but I'm just not there yet. And I can't push to get there because then I'm just going against everything that I've worked through over these years about slowing down and not rushing. And I keep getting pushed back and stopped every time I rush things. And I'm like, okay, all right, I got it. I've gone back again.
And also you deliver quality work when you're ready, when you're in the right place. So I hugely admire your approach around things are almost ready to go, but I'm not ready to truly take them to market. You deliver when you're ready and you deliver something really well. And I think to reference you talking earlier about us being in a rush, we can be in a rush with those things, can't we? Whereas it's extremely you're doing the right thing, because I think you'll have more longevity when you do deliver your work.
And people can feel it if it's rushed and it's kind of at a place of desperation rather than a place of, oh, just, trusting and surrendering to what this is. And you have so much passion behind it. And it's not for any other reason other than you loving this rather than trying to push it. Yeah.
Yeah, picking up on someone really needing the money. Yeah,
Mm.
it's such a turn off. You can sense it, can't you? You know, when you're given the cards for the gym, sign up for this. I need exercise badly. I know it's a good gym and I know it's free, but you're too desperate. I'm not going to
Oh,
take your flyer.
exactly. Not good.
Well, thank you so much, Cass, for your time. It's been just such an amazing conversation, so interesting and inspiring. And I think that the journey that you've been on is something that would benefit many people to really pause and think about if we need to do something similar. So thank you. I have got one more question though.
Yeah, go for it.
I wanted to ask what you thought about what you want to get out of your 40s, and if you've noticed anything around society's view of 40 and older, or your perception of moving into that stage anyway.
What I did notice is I was in the fitness industry for so long and I used to collaborate with many brands and they used to send me free gear and all of the thing, like in that influencer world. I found becoming a mum and just getting older, I don't have that anymore. It's like, oh, yep, too old. She's in the old basket. Like that's what it feels like. Could be my perception as well, but it does feel very much like there's a place. Things just shift, don't they? Like there's a place for these brands, and then it will shift into this new world of mum in my 40s. So yeah, I definitely found that shift. what do I want to get out of my 40s? Oh my gosh, I just want to live the best years of my life. I want it to be, yeah, not be in a rush through it. Just be really here, be really present, be really intentional with my life and all of my decisions and everything I choose going forward. I want it to, everything I do and birth into the world to bring me joy, pleasure, feel so much harmony and peace, and just celebrate. I want it to be like a celebration. Seeing my mum go through that death portal, it was such an eye opener as to how quickly life goes. She was such a fit, healthy woman, and then she wasn't. It's like, oh my gosh, I wish we had gone out with her and drank more champagne. Like it just becomes really apparent that life goes really fast. So it's like, let's celebrate. It's about having fun as well.
That's amazing. I do think that sounds like the best decade that anyone can hope for. Who would have thought it? So much better than the 20s, which are sending all this free activewear.
Yeah.
You might get free activewear, but you're not having as much fun as we are.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. We wish you all the best. And I will put the links to your journey to Instagram and hopefully some recommendations for the therapy options and treatment options you referenced. But yeah, thanks again. Take care.